Today, we're diving into a really dark and complex narrative. This is the Uncanny Prophecy, a story not about a world that's going to end, but one that's already unmaking itself from the inside out. We're going to trace the path of a figure of light who becomes, well, something else entirely, a herald of the void.
Okay, so right at the heart of this whole thing is this really stark, kind of terrifying transformation. On one side, you've got the Pale Redeemer, a high priest, a symbol of preservation, wearing white robes, a grand mind. And then you have his complete opposite, the Violet Adversary, an uncanny wanderer wearing this predatory purple and gold, described not as a mind, but as a literal spiritual black hole. This isn't just a costume change, you guys. This is a fundamental corruption of an ideal, and if we can get our heads around this shift, we can unlock the entire prophecy.
So to really grasp this, we're going to journey through the 6 major signs, or parables, that show the prophecy unfolding. We'll kick things off with the transformation itself, then we'll look at the doctrine it creates, the weapons it uses, the cold logic it's built on, the prison it constructs, and finally, the tracks it leaves behind on a dying world. Let's get into it. So, our first sign, the Violet Metamorphosis. This is the origin story, right? This is the moment the prophecy takes physical form. And it's all centered on this one man, Salvio Polito, and his inverted hero's journey. He's not heading towards enlightenment, he's taking a journey back into the Shadowlands.
This slide really lays out the fall with chilling clarity. So before, Polito is this symbol of order, of preservation. But the catalyst, the thing that changes everything, it isn't some revelation from the heavens. No, it's a violet aura that strikes him from the ground, a corruption coming from below. This shatters his uncanny mirror, which is like the reflection of his ideal self. And in that moment, the Pale Redeemer is gone. He's dead. What rises from the ashes is the adversary, and his new royal mantle isn't a sign of power, it's a predatory shield to hide from the harsh light of truth.
The power he gets from this is called a Faustian inversion. You know the old legend, right? A man sells his soul for knowledge or power. Well, this is a deal that just hollows you out instead of lifting you up. He doesn't actually gain mastery over anything. He just becomes a pipeline for nothingness, a spiritual black hole that sucks in all meaning. And this perfectly captures what the source material calls the long tiredness, this deep, profound exhaustion of a world that just doesn't know how to face its own end with any courage. Let's move on to our second sign, and you'll see how this all starts to build. A new kind of being needs a new kind of doctrine, right? And this is it, the gospel of the belly. It's an anti-theology. It's not designed to save souls, but to consume them. Yeah, this gospel has one single horrifying purpose: to take the vibrant, complex energy of the human spirit, which the source calls luch, and turn it into fuel. It's a systematic process of just reducing people. It takes everything that makes you unique, your passions, your struggles, your creativity, and it redefines all of it as just raw material for this monstrous cosmic greed. It's the ultimate form of dehumanization. So how does it do it? Well, by whispering these incredibly corrosive ideas into the ears of people who are actually trying, people who strive. It tells them their reason, their ability to choose, their drive to create. The very things they value most are actually flaws, bugs in the system. It reframes the glorious burden of choice as something you should just get rid of. It convinces them that their soul's highest calling is to be fuel, and that all their hard work is just going to end in a pathetic stupor of agreement. It's a doctrine designed to make you give up. And this quote just perfectly illustrates the end result. The vibrant, unique, complex pieces that make up a human identity get broken down and rebuilt into something uniform and featureless. It's not a society of individuals anymore, it's just a wall of bricks, where each one is exactly the same, providing structure for the void. Okay, now we get to the third sign, the active method. See, it's not enough to just preach this gospel. The adversary has to actively hunt down anyone who might resist it. This is the weapon of doubt, and it's designed specifically to neutralize the will to endure in the strongest people out there. The whole process is meticulous. It's like a predator stalking its prey. He doesn't go after the weak, he targets the soul in motion, the person who's striving for greatness, the Übermensch, that philosophical ideal of someone who creates their own values. He waits for that exact moment of vulnerability, that dark night of the soul that every creator goes through, and then he whispers. Just one fatal drop of doubt, suggesting that rest, that surrender, that will to nap is the easier, smarter choice. And here we go again. We see this inversion of powerful symbols.
The cross, a symbol of enduring incredible suffering for a higher purpose, gets twisted. Here, it becomes a shield, but not a shield to face a challenge. It's a shield to hide from the truth, to dodge the responsibility that comes with striving. It's a brilliant and really insidious piece of psychological warfare. And this really gets to the core of it all. The Wanderer's entire mission is to prove this one statement. He wants to show everyone that greatness requires this almost superhuman level of commitment, a fierce affirmation of life that, let's be honest, most people just don't have. And by injecting that little bit of doubt, he makes the price of greatness seem impossibly high, making sure very few are ever willing to pay it. Now, for the fourth sign. This is where the attack goes from being psychological to philosophical. This is the logic of zero. The prophecy's cold, hard, mathematical proof that everything you do is ultimately pointless. This is the question the logic of zero basically forces you to confront. Does it really matter if you build an empire or if you just watch it crumble? Is the peak of human achievement just another road to the same destination as the deepest, darkest decay? The logic itself is just brutal in its simplicity. It argues that if you trace any action, any ambition, any love, any hate, back far enough, you eventually hit a void. Therefore, every variable in the human equation, whether it's progress, failure, joy, or sorrow, ultimately adds up to zero. The universe, it says, is heavy, deaf, and perfectly finished, and there's no room for your free will to change a thing. This slide shows that core concept perfectly. These two opposites, progress and decay, they aren't presented as a spectrum. No, they're an equation. One is just the mirror image of the other. They're two sides of the same coin, and the value of that coin is zero. It makes all striving, all attempts to get from one side to the other, just a frantic delusion. And this is the devastating conclusion. After your reason has failed, after your willpower has failed, hope is the very last thing to give out. The logic of zero is designed to be the absolute truth that finally severs that final muscle, leaving the soul in this state of terminal apathy. All right, our fifth sign. This is where the prophecy reframes not just our actions, but reality itself. This is the fractal prison. It takes the concept of infinite beauty and shows you how it's actually an infinite trap. Okay, so think of those complex, infinitely repeating mathematical patterns, sometimes called Apollonian gaskets, that ancient philosophers thought might be a key to understanding the divine order of the universe. The Wanderer looks at that infinite complexity and just laughs at it. He reveals it's not sacred knowledge, it's a geometry of the grotesque, an endless, repetitive trap. The soul doesn't expand into this infinity, it withers, lost in a shadowland of empty, repeating patterns that basically mock the very idea of a creator. And that brings us to the sixth and final parable, the rusted footprints. These are the physical signs that the prophecy is complete, the evidence of a world that has given in to the first 5 signs and is now in its final decline. What an image, right? Not the triumphant march of progress, but the slow, decaying trail of rust on a living world. These footprints are the quiet, creepy evidence that the world's vitality is being poisoned, that society's journey of self-discovery is reaching its final corrupted stage. It's a whispered warning of a conclusion that is going to be anything but quiet. The great noon of gore signals the prophecy's climax, a violent final showdown when the gilded cage of modern stagnation finally shatters and the last muscle of a tired era gives out for good. So, after all that, what are we supposed to take away from this? After this whole journey through nihilism and consumption and decay, the prophecy leaves us with something it calls the gray truth. And it suggests that the whole point of this violet adversary, this whole test of the void, is to prove that true mastery isn't found in avoiding suffering or denying that the void exists. No, it's found in looking directly into the abyss, acknowledging all of it, and still choosing a relentless, fierce, unwavering affirmation of life. The prophecy isn't just a warning of doom, it's a challenge.